Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Divine iRacing series. Today, we have a special social event where we'll be having a 100% race around Qatar, which starts off with a short qualifying as shown on screen. My name is Olaf, aka Wops Racing, and I'll be your commentator for tonight. And it's going to be a long one, so sit tight, hang back, grab some popcorn, grab something to drink while you still can. The start of qualifying usually isn't that interesting anyway. So get ready to have a long one, because these races are a lot different than the 50% races. For me, for you, and also for the drivers. The drivers usually run a 50% race with takes about 45 minutes, whereas today they have to sit in for the entire 1.5 hours of the race. As we can see right here, the start of the qualifying. We have 18 drivers on the grid, and I'm trying to spot which cars are not taken, and I have a suspicion that one of them is a Haas, so I can see so far, and we are missing an Alpine. So if you see Haas or an Alpine on track, you know for sure which drivers they are. And I can see one of the Williams drivers being the first one out on track. We're going to follow them around for a bit. And it is Mihu, usually seen in the McLaren, but now is seen in the Williams. We go a little bit of a recon track, as I forget how to change. There we go. I did click the right button. Let's do a little bit of a recon around the track. Dutchke already retiring, choosing to go for the final spot of the grid back in 18th. Maybe trying to do a neat little last to first challenge, which is easier on the longer races because you've got more time, or more difficult depending on how skilled the track is. Quick little slide there from Mihu as he turns into the second sector. That's the case at the start of qualifying. It's kind of slippery out there still. There's no support series, no previous events. This is the first run on this track right now, so there will not be any rubber on the track. And especially in these fast sections, these fast right-handers combined, you have a bigger chance of the rear slipping away. Also big chance in this corner. And here we go. Mihu starting his first flying lap. The first driver to start a flying lap in this qualifying. It's a short session, so that's 18 minutes. Only 15 and 3/4 of a minute left in this session. Fastest lap counts. And then we'll be going on to the 100% race. Some drivers to look out for, as we've seen in the Division 1 races. We have, of course, Mihu and Rios, the McLaren drivers currently in the Williams. But just like in Division 1, the cars are on equal performance. So it does not matter what car they are in. For the engine power, drag, aerodynamics, all of that jazz is all the same for each driver. The only thing that's different is the car itself. So the wheelbase is actually a bit different. So as you can see, the Williams car here should be a little bit different from the Red Bull car. If you've been on Instagram a lot and other social media, you can see a lot of comparative images where they put the cars side by side, as Mihu actually goes over track limits and invalidates his lap and has to back down, maybe do a cool down lap to recharge the battery, or just go for it, as it looks like he's going to go for a cooldown lap. And in that case, we'll go right on board with Blue Dark, McLaren, who's halfway on his lap through Sector 2. So if you look at the different cars and their different wheelbases, some of them are tiny bit longer and some of them are a tiny bit shorter, which give their advantages and disadvantages. As Divine Eye is the first driver to set a lap time with a 1:26.6, which is easily beaten by Jesper with a 1:22.9, almost 4 full seconds faster. Which still something tells me that Divine Eye here did not do his absolute best on that lap. And maybe had a little error there. As Blue Dark sets a 24.3 and goes into second position. Almost all drivers out on track, but 5 now as Dino gets in. Now enters the pits right there. Let's see, who have we not looked at? Ooh, Arkid just crossing the line in the Alfa Romeo, putting it in first with a 21.0. So the gaps are currently pretty big in terms of single lap pace. Yellow flag in the middle sector. It looks like to be the Alpine. That is not the Alpine. Would that be Mihu standing still? It is Mihu off the track there. As the Steps now puts in a lap in second place. Chicken and Blunts up to 6th. And a lot of drivers now finishing off their laps. Looked like Waza there and Backmarker finished the laps really close to each other. And almost put down their lap times at the same time. So that looks very interesting. Because it's just a short session and it's not a full longer session of qualifying. Everyone wants to have their fast lap done quickly to at least have a time on the board. And Divine Eye actually jumped up to 3rd place with a 1:22.6. Still a big gap to Arkid, who we know is really quick from the Division 1 races in Melbourne and in Silverstone. You've seen Arkid do some great stuff. So one of those other drivers I am going to be looking at is, of course, currently in the Ferrari, Kaká, as he is on his way to start a lap. Our current championship leader and also the main cause of Alfa Romeo leading the championship in Division 1, as he's now driving the Ferrari. As for this race, it was first come, first served. So the first drivers that showed up in the lobby could choose their cars, and most of them will have gone for the Red Bull, the Mercedes, the Ferraris. More what you would call favorable cars in realistic performance. Let's see if we can bring up some data for... Let's see, telemetry, it's not, there you go, lap data, that's the one I wanted. Lap data for Kaká, so we can see which sectors if he improves or not later on. Same goes for the other drivers. As Backmarker, you see he's plus 13, which means that is on a slow lap. Buza, plus 34, also a slow lap. Might have been charging and now starting a new lap. Goes for a few more drivers. Muriel's now finishing up sector 1. 29.2, has not set a lap time yet, so no comparative there. Kaká finishing up the lap. Going through the final corner here. Let's see where he can put it. Our Division 1 championship leader opening up the DRS flap. Doing the final few meters off the track. And puts it in 3rd place with a 22.3. And no one gets within the 21s except for Arkid with a 21.0. Still on pole position. Currently. Provisional pole position. Which is insanely quick compared to the rest. Jesper now starting a lap as well. Looking to improve on his previous lap. As Waza is on a faster lap. Currently 6/10 up on his previous best. Which would put him just in 7th. Should be right above 7th. Which would put him in 7th position. So let's see what he can do in the final sector. Maybe gain a little bit more time. Get it in 6th. And he goes to 8th. So he lost a tiny bit of time, which put him in 8th position. Now, F1 Dyno Now, in the Red Bull, starting his first flying lap. So you can see Tutschke currently in 13th. Already retired, choosing to go for the final spot on the grid, which will be 18th, if every other driver sets a lap time, of course. As Kittenpetter goes to second place with a 21.7, still 6.5 tenths off of provisional pole currently from Arkid. So this is going to be one heck of a lap to beat. Jesper now starting a new lap as well. In the meantime, AP17 has set a lap time of a 24.7, putting it in 13th. So it's a bit switching between the drivers that we've seen in Division 1. As Rios puts it on 4th position, second row for the Williams driver here. Which is a very, very good showing here. I'm just wondering if Mihu can step up as well. Rios is currently second place in the championship, the Drivers' Championship of Division 1. As F1 Dyno knocks Rios down to the third row as he puts it in third position with a 21.8. So the grid is kind of coming together a little bit more, everyone within 4 seconds. Which is a lot better than we saw in the beginning of the session. Only 7 minutes remaining, which means that we are well over halfway done. So the qualifying will be the session that I'll enjoy the least, most likely, as it's currently waiting for drivers to finish up laps and to set laps as Mihu goes out for his first lap. Currently on an out lap. And drivers just setting up the stage. As you see the McLaren drivers putting in a toe, which puts the steps almost in first position. Very nice job there. Very good teamwork from Blue Dark and the steps. That is so close. 11 thousandths of a second. That is 0.011 seconds to pole position there. As Arkid just beats his previous lap time and goes above and beyond with another 1.5 tenths quicker than his previous lap. Which means that he currently holds provisional pole position. As we're going to look at Mihu, we're going to go right a little bit on board here. To see what the track looks like from the driver's view here. Going a bit wide on the first turn. Nothing too bad. Not touching the second apex either. Might be strategy. Mihu and Rios are teammates in Division 1. They're both drivers for McLaren. So it would be amazing to see these two performing on the same level here. They are very close in the McLarens. They're currently in the same car as well. So it's easier to spot them. Very curious to see what these two can do. In qualifying as well as in the race, because it's a 100% race. Drivers that have a controller will have an easier time with fatigue, but the drivers with a wheel have an easier time with pinpoint precision. So that's going to be the trade-off there, I think, between the two different types of controllers. Mihu finishing the lap neatly between the lines. There's only one straight to go. Opening up the DRS flap. Goes past the pit straight. Over the finish line. And puts it in 7th position. Within a tenth of Rios. So as expected, Mihu and Rios are very, very close on qualifying performance in here as well. Oranjeboom in the Alfa Romeo here today. The final driver to set a lap time, besides Touchkey, of course, who will not be participating in qualifying, but should be participating in the race. As we've seen on tire strategy, I've seen that we have, should be 47 laps, if I'm not mistaken, where the hard tire can carry for 30 of those laps. So 2/3 of the race can be driven on a single compound. So I'm curious to see which drivers will start on the hard tire and which one will finish on the hard tire. Or if they are going to go for a double medium stint into softs. Or starting on softs going to mediums. Any of those combinations are also possible. Of course, as the tires go with the hards, you trade off some of your grip for extra durability, whereas the softs you trade off durability for extra grip. Currently all drivers out on softs for qualifying, as it is the fastest tire. Oranjeboom putting it in 15th position with a 23.5. Now all the drivers have set a lap time, and it will be up to them to improve and nothing else. Trying to start as high up as possible, but as it is a 100% race, starting high doesn't always guarantee you a lot. It's a long race with a lot of overtaking opportunities. Quite some big braking zones, especially into turn 1. We're going to look at Kakao, who's currently exiting. We're going to look at the lap here. Turn 1 has got a very big braking zone, so we're going to see a lot of overtaking opportunities there. Let's go through to turn 2 and 3 are both fairly quick. So we probably won't see any big lunges there. 4 and 5 is a braking zone, but also still quite fast. Only at 6, where we're coming up to, is a hairpin-like corner with a very big, steep braking zone, where we can see some lunges as well. And these corners, these fast corners, make for very good wheel-to-wheel action zones. The left-hander here as well. The combination of right, left, right in the second sector into the big braking zone there makes it very difficult for drivers to choose a line in the first corner or the second corner of the combination, because you never know where you're going to end up or what the other driver will be doing, if they have the grip to stick around the outside or if they go too far and outbrake themselves when they're on the inside. But then they'll have the outside on the next corner. So it's one big mess that the drivers have to navigate in order to make good decisions. But hopefully we'll see some good side-by-side wheel-to-wheel action during this race. We've got 100%, so that's 1.5 hours of action to unfold. SKK is going to go for a shot at pole position. He needs just over, or just under 4/10, I should say, to gain pole position, and just over 2/10 to gain the front row. As you can see, that's a purple first sector with over 4/10 of improvement. Which makes me wonder if he's going to keep that going. We see the steps here also going through. Also looks like a purple sector, but we've seen this before. The game might be lying to us. Kaka, 8/10 of improvement after 2 sectors. Looks like they'll be taking pole position of Arkid, who is finished. He is gone over the line. He is in the pits as the flag drops, which means that he will not be able to do anything to defend from Kaka. Now the final flap open, last straight, going into 3rd position. 8/10 improvement. I think I miscalculated there and didn't see one of the numbers. And he had a 22.1. As the steps actually goes faster with 5,000ths of a second faster than Arcid. That means Qatar takes third position. The Steps takes first. Only a few drivers left there. I think F1 Diamond put it in fourth position. He was fifth, so that means he gained one position. I think it was Mrios or Mihu. Actually, no, Mrios was in sixth. Kitten Feather in the Alpine drops down one position with that final lap. So, on pole position, we have the Steps in the McLaren. After that, we have Arcid, Kaka, F1 Dino, Kitten Feather, Mrios, Jabiza, Mihu, Divine Eye, and in 10th position, we have Back Marker. As we scroll down, we have Jesper, Chicken, Waza, B17, Oranjeboom, AP17, Blue Dark, and finally we have Touchkey, who did not set a lap time. All of these drivers that have set a lap time have used the soft tires to set the lap. So that means that they have one less during the race. One less new set, one less clean set for the race. Now all the drivers are on their way to ready up, on their way to grab their race setup, to the final tweaks, maybe adjust the brake balance differential or the front wing, which are the only three things you can adjust before the race. Making sure they have enough fuel to finish, but not too much to slow the car down. Of course, we'll have a formation lap first before we go into the good stuff. And in this formation lap, the drivers have one task and one task only. Bring the car to the grid with optimal tire temps. If they do not, and they start off with too low temperatures or too high temperatures, those can both happen. The tires will not be in the correct window. They won't have enough grip. They'll be underinflated with too low temperature, overinflated with too high temperature, so their contact patch is not optimal, and they'll have too little grip. They'll do have to account for the fact that the car will be stationary for a few seconds before the lights go out, which is especially important for those front runners, especially the Steps, as he'll be the first one to set his car on the grid. You have to put a bit more temperature in the rear tires to make sure that they don't cool down too much on the grid. But as they're stationary, the cooling process is a little bit slower compared to when they're driving in a straight line. So that is one of their lucky points. And there we go. All the drivers are lined up as we are starting 57 laps actually. I thought it was 47 laps, which makes the race 10 laps longer than I originally thought. Which means that my hard to soft strategy is probably not going to work out too well. Here we are on the... Whoa, I am looking at the wrong buttons. Those are the wrong buttons. Should be looking at these buttons. There we go. I almost messed up. Here we can see the different choices in strategies between the drivers, and it's very mixed. There are 4 medium runners, and the rest is divided between softs and hards. We have 7 soft runners and 7 hard runners. That does not add up. It's 4 mediums instead of 5. That does add up again. The math is mathing once again. So as we can see, we have 2 of the top 3 going on softs, and 2 on the back of the grid also choosing for the softs, which is very interesting to see. Arcid going on the hards, as well as F1 Dino. Kitten Feather choosing for the mediums, and the Steps, Kaka, Muriel's, Jabiza on the softs. Then in the middle of the pack we have 3 hard runners: Mihu, Divine Eye, Back Marker, Jesper on the softs, Chicken on the mediums, Waza on the hards again, B17 on the mediums, Oranjeboom on the hards, AP17 on the mediums as well. So it's a big split between these tires. They're all new and clean tires, which will help. But it will be very interesting to see what's going to happen. These stops do not make any sense. The soft will not last for 28 laps. AWS does not know what they're talking about. These are not those are not validated by anyone, nor will they be used during the race. We're going to see 2 stops all around, I assume. The hard tires will not last longer than those 30 laps that I discussed earlier. As we see the drivers line up now for the start. Just going to quickly hide everything on screen so you can see what is going on. We have, for your information, the steps in first on pole position in the McLaren, and let's see where he comes out. Going to look at the final drivers now lining up as the lights are going on now, and they're off, and we're away at the Qatar social race. The steps having a very rough start there. Arkid going on the inside and taking the position as well as Kaká, but we see the steps going very fast there around the outside, taking back second position from Kaká, and he is now in second place. On the back of the grid, a lot of shuffling as Tushki goes all the way up to 13th, dropping back to 14th now. Making a great start there. The steps losing out in the first turn, sticking to the rear of Arkid. Kaká joining in on the battle as well. There has been some kerfuffling in the back as we see the Red Bull of B17 a little bit behind the rest of the pack as everything is settling down. There have been some shuffles, and we'll go look at that in just a moment. The steps in the McLaren still very close to Arkid. As we see B17 spun around once again, as Blue Dark was also shuffled back, but is now back to P17. The steps will be looking in this final turn after a big slipstream. See if he can look on the inside. He will not. He will stick behind. Choose for this longer straight to get a good exit. Stick in the rear. There's no DRS, using all of his battery, which Arkid also does. He's looking on the inside. No defensive moves from Arkid. The steps on the inside, taking the inside line there and being ahead before the exit of the corner and taking the lead of the race back at the start of lap 2. A few drivers already going into the pits, which are Backmarker, Jesper, Wazatuchki, and Blue Dark. Probably with some damage of some kind. Chicken going to get a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. The steps now having a clean run and getting a bit of space as Kaká is entering the battle. Arkid going wide. Kaká gaining the position there as Arkid goes off the track and loses second place as well. This gives the steps a great advantage further up ahead, as he now has almost that second lead that he needs at the start of lap 3, where DRS will be activated. Go further back, we see Kitten Petter 7/10 behind Mrios, which is going to be a very close battle as well. Will we see a similar move going on here? Or will Kitten Petter send it on the final turn? He will not as well. He'll play it safe. There we have the actual race strategies that look a little bit more possible. Soft, hard, medium. Medium might be a bit of a stretch, but the medium, hard might be a good one. Kaká setting the fastest lap. Kitten Petter on the outside. Mrios going defensive into turn 1. Will it pan out? It will not. Mrios braking too early. Kitten Petter out braking on the outside there and gaining the position. Oranjeboom and AP17 also into the pits now. Kaká chases the steps. The second lead that the McLaren had is now gone. Fully jumped away by Kaká. So they're going into the second sector. It's very difficult to overtake through these parts. If you're side by side, the battling can be amazing, but it's very difficult to get side by side here. So that is the savior of the McLaren. There might be a tiny chance here to duck into the slipstream. There's only one DRS zone on this track, and that is on the start-finish straight. The detection zone is right before the final corner, which means that there are no big DRS overtakes on this track besides the start-finish straight. Kaká not yet looking. Deciding to play it safe. Getting the DRS Arcade. I think he just got DRS as well. We can look at the view there. And the flap looks to be closed on the Alfa Romeo, but open on the Ferrari as Kaká goes side by side with the steps, not defending. That's a free change of the lead there. Getting better. Still ahead of Murillo's. Murillo's backing down quite a bit as Getting Better now chases the 5th position of F1 Dyno. The steps now very close again to Kaká, as we're going to take a quick look at the wins and losses of the drivers. Kaká 2 places up, Jabiza 3 places up, as well as B17, and Tuchki getting a big start from the beginning of the race, gaining 5 places there, as the pack behind Backmarker has all pitted, looks like, and Backmarker Tuchki as Backmarker as well. Actually, quite a big gap there between 11th and 12th. If we look at the tire choices for the drivers that have stopped, we can see more softs and medium tires being chosen there from the hards. As Chicken gets another 3-second time penalty, which is now 6 seconds in total already after 4 laps of racing. The steps now pulling open. DRS Kaká not going defensive, but will he keep the position? Sticking it around the outside, still side by side. Kaká getting the inside for the next corner, but the steps not giving it away that easily and is ahead around the outside of turn 2. A very nice battle here between these drivers for the lead of the race. As we scroll down, we see Tuchki now closing in on Backmarker, approaching the DRS zone, as Wazar gets a 3-second time penalty as well for multiple warnings. This looks to be a penalty fest to come. Tuchki a bit too far away to do anything realistically. Has the flap open. Doesn't get close enough for an overtake, but he does reel in Backmarker quite a bit. Maybe he has an opportunity somewhere along the track. He does stick his nose in really tightly there. Grabbing a slipstream, looking on the inside. Really early attack there. Keeping the inside on the double right-hander here and gaining the position. And now he's up in 12th place. Very nice driving. As his teammate Kaká now has DRS once again. So it looks like they're just playing this game of who will get DRS and who will be ahead of who at which lap. Kaká now gaining the lead again. If you look at the tires, both of these drivers are running the soft compound. But if you look in the 3rd position, you see one driver that's not really battling, but he does get DRS every single time. It is Arcade in the Alfa Romeo. He's got tires that can last a long time, but he's keeping up with the pace of these soft runners because they keep losing each other time. So this means that Arcade might be able to overcut these drivers in front and strategically gain a position. He also doesn't need to push as hard. The DRS does all the work for him. If he does need to defend, he can just use some of that battery that he still has left. He's within half a second of the steps. Should be very easy for him to do things. As Blue Dark creates a yellow flag in the final sector, which these drivers are almost approaching. And is already underway again before something can happen. The grid is split up pretty far already, with these 3 being a small train up front. There's a few seconds between them and Jabiza, and there's a small train of 3 drivers once again. And then there's some bigger gaps here. We can see Arcade with the flap open, the steps also open, but not able to overtake. Maybe he's saving up on that battery and thinking, if we're battling constantly, I don't think we're gaining time. I think we're just losing time. So there's no need to push each lap and to overtake every single time. Getting better. Still in 6th place. In this small train behind Jabiza in the Haas. And F1 Dyno in the Red Bull. Chicken gaining another 3-second time penalty. Currently in 10th. But if this keeps going, he might be able to lose a few positions more. Just on penalties alone. Small lockup there from Kittenpetter, which puts him outside of DRS. Very interesting here. As Arkid is closer to the steps than the steps is to Kaka. Kaka doing an incredible job here. Through the middle sector. To gain some distance. As we can see Blue Dark now pulling into the pits, it looks like. Being lapped. Arkid with the DRS, again, same as the steps. Blue Dark speeding in the pit lane, getting a 5-second penalty for that incident. And the top 3 now maintaining their positions. As F1 Dyno gets very close to Jabiza. Within a few tenths now, chasing that slipstream. Maybe looking to get that overtake done and chasing the top 3. Look at the tires on these cars. We see that Jabiza is on the softs and F1 Dyno is on the hards, which means that it's the same deal as with the top 3. The front guys on the softs, the drivers behind sticking in the DRS zone. The DRS area, the second with a harder compound. Keeping the same pace as the front runners, but getting a lot of the durability. Now back again with our top 3. The steps just barely within DRS. Arkid going a bit wide on the final corner. Opening the rear wing. Going side by side with the steps. Overtaking on the straight. Even though the steps has the flap open and also has the slipstream of Kaka. There's just too much speed as F1 Dyno goes on the inside of Jabiza. But Jabiza fighting back. Not giving up easily, but in the end does lose the position to F1 Dyno. Now in 4th, the driver with the hard tires able to drive on for just a bit longer. It looks like the hard tires are firing up now. If we look at Jabiza, losing the position to F1 Dyno, same way that the steps lost his position to Arkid. We might be able to say that there has been something going on, as we can see Miu now DNFing after turn 5. Wonder what happened there. We can look on board here to see if we can see the car. I can only see a tire on the right hand side as there is a safety car deployed for what happened here. And now it's interesting. Miu is out of the competition. One of the Williamses is down. There's a safety car. Free room to pit. Arkid on the hards. Kaka opting for the pit. Arkid going in as well as the steps. Neither of these drivers wanting to give up the position. Looked like there's some brake checking going on there between Arkid and the steps. As Kittenpetter now takes the lead of the race. Not stopping, while the rest of the drivers appear to be stopping. So you can see Divine Eye also speeding by on the right hand side. But it looks like Kaka has crossed the line first. Oh, never mind, there's the line. Divine Eye is indeed ahead, which puts Kaka in 3rd position. checking on which tires they are going to. Arcade from the hards onto the softs. Kaka onto the mediums. Divina is still running the hards. Getting better on the mediums as well. So it looks like all these soft runners are going into the pits to change their tires. Apologies there. Got something in my throat apparently. As we have a little bit of a cool down moment here. All drivers are finishing up their stops in the pits. We'll probably have to do another lap behind the safety car as well. So we've got some time to refill your drinks, go for a quick toilet break, grab some more snacks if you're out already. Would not be surprised, this has been a banger so far. Some good driving, some good strategies going on for the drivers. Some good thinking, some good mental games. And while we're waiting for the other drivers to catch up, we're looking at Blue Dark, who does not go in. He's a full lap behind the rest of the grid. And we did indeed see Arcade braking very early for the pit line and seeing some contact there. I just got confirmation that Arcade did not know where the line was and braked a little bit earlier, which might have given someone some wing damage. As we see some drivers into the pits, Oranjebo and AP17 both going into the pits, choosing to still go for a stop, even though the safety car has been going for a full lap already. Keep in mind that the track limits penalties, so the penalties for too many warnings, for multiple warnings, those 3-second time penalties, will not be served during the pits. So the drivers will have these time penalties added to the end of the race. So there's no way they can go into the pits, serve their penalty, and then fight back that time on track. They have to preemptively fight on track to get that time. So Chicken has a 9-second time penalty. He had a 15-second gap behind him last time I checked. He had a very big gap behind him, which was not a worry for him. But now it has gotten closer, as Wazar receives a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, just what we were talking about. And it looks like the safety car might go for one more lap as the drivers behind are catching up. So that is Jesper, Oranjeboom and AP17 now catching up to the back of the pack, which means we'll be going into our final lap of the safety car, and hopefully we can get racing right after. The longer the safety car goes on, the more difficult it will be for these drivers to get the tires and to keep the tires up to temperature. But on the other hand, it will extend the lifetime of some of these tires. So the soft drivers, the soft runners, currently only Arcade, Chicken and Blue Dark will be quite happy with this. They don't need to put as much effort into heating the tires to be able to drive fast and get them into the operating window. So they are able to just weave a little bit to not wear them out, not to get too many blisters or too much graining going on. They just evenly heat up the tires. Whereas the hard runners, which are currently only Divine Eye and B17, who switched to the hards during this safety car, they have a lot more heat to generate. And all the mediums is a good middle ground between those two. It has some durability, it has some speed, some grip, and also needs quite some energy into the tires before it starts activating. Safety car will be in this lap as we quickly look at the standings so far. Touchkey +7, the big win, and the Steps losing 6 positions there from pole position. Divine Eye also gaining 7 positions up to 2nd place. And Kid and Petter as well. But keep in mind that those two have not stopped yet. Most impressively, Touchkey up 7 places while having stopped twice. But now I will go back to the action where Kid and Petter has the choice to drop the hammer, and he does so at the end of the lap. Kaka going very wide there on exit. Arkid having to swerve a little bit, and because of that weak exit from Kaka, Arkid is able to quickly overtake, but Kaka now overtakes back on the straight and keeps the position. As Arkid needs to defend from F1 Dino, Kid and Petter dropping back a position as Divine Eye takes the lead of this race. Kaka now slipping into the inside of Kid and Petter, who makes a slight mistake and does not notice. Kid and Petter braking very hard, and Arkid ramming into the back there. F1 Dino being able to overtake and capitalize on that, gaining a position almost to Jabiza now on the outside of Arkid. And there's a front wing being flown around as Kid and Petter brakes and hits some drivers. Kaka now gaining 1st place from Divine Eye. Divine Eye almost keeping it on the inside, but Kaka having a better exit there. You see Jabiza fighting with Kid and Petter, but not able to overtake just yet. And Arkid looks like he's tumbling down the order, as losing a lot of positions now, all the way down to 16th. Jabiza also losing quite a few positions there to Marios and the Steps. The Steps all the way up into 5th position already, regaining some of that lost ground. F1 Dino now sticking to the rear of Divine Eye, who has those used tires, who has a lot less grip than the drivers around him. Also on the hard compound, we can see now F1 Dino on the outside. Don't know if he is going to have DRS, but he has already overtaken before the end of the lap. No DRS being activated yet, as we have just had a safety car. Divine Eye may be looking on the inside there into turn 1. He will be looking, leaving enough space. The F1 Dino around the outside, keeping the position so far, but gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, as we could see him go wide at the exit of turn 1. So a lot of penalties being dished out here. Touchkey very great there, up into 9th position. Now battling with Backmarker, who grabs the inside and gets the position into turn 4 as well, all the way up into 8th again on a charge. This driver is one heck of a machine. Wazar now also gaining a position there, battling with Backmarkers. See two drivers go wide, a little bit of a touch between Chicken and looked like Touchkey almost, as Chicken now drops back as he's sideways on the track. Touchkey into 7th position. The stewards will most likely be taking a quick look at that, as we see Kaka have a 1.5 second gap to F1 Dino, who just battled with Divine Eye for those positions. The Steps into 4th position, approaching Divine Eye. Remember, Divine Eye on the hard tires, on the used hard tires. Will there be DRS games? There will not be. The Steps will gain the line there, as B17 gets a 3-second time penalty. The Steps ducking into DRS, into the slipstream, as there's no DRS yet. Getting some overspeed there on the inside. Arkid getting a 3-second time penalty as well, and the Steps getting up to that final podium position. As we see B17 on the inside of Backmarker. Backmarker keeping the inside for the next turn, and then getting the position back that he lost to the Red Bull driver. Marios now up into 6th position, chasing Kid and Petter, who was leading the race at the start of this restart. Now losing some distance, losing some ground to the Williams driver behind, but keeping it defensive. Getting very close. You can see them waiting for these long runs where they can duck into the slipstream and maybe get an advantage. But these corners are so quick. There's no room for braking, no room for out-braking. As Chicken gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which makes it a 14-second total penalty. And he now retires from the race. As we see Tutschke approach this battle in 7th position. DRS is activated now. Small train forming behind Divine Eye. Kittenpetter going Maria's going side by side with Kittenpetter on the inside, getting the position into turn 1, keeping it on the outside. Tutschke also gaining the position there, very opportunistic there from the Ferrari driver. And Kittenpetter losing out 2 positions. Remember, Kittenpetter and Divine Eye both have not stopped yet, so they are running the same tires as they did at the start of the race, which makes them more vulnerable for attacks. Marios and Tutschke now very close with Divine Eye. Tutschke almost looking like he wants to make a move. Same for Marios. Drivers ahead, braking early. Tutschke having to react to that, which he does very well. It's now a bit of a waiting game, trying to see where the opponent will make a mistake. See Marios all over the rear of Divine Eye, into the mirrors, showing himself, saying, hey, I am here. You have a position that I really want. Divine Eye getting a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as he's having to go wide, using up all the road to defend as Marios goes side by side, overtakes, and Tutschke goes alongside with him. And Tutschke maybe even getting a good exit there on Marios, who does not have DRS. And Tutschke gaining that position. Kittenpetter now side by side with Divine Eye, gaining the position as well. Marios wanting to defend, but gets boxed in by Tutschke. And Tutschke the big winner there. With Divine Eye trailing. Marios and Kittenpetter still fighting. Marios looks like he got out of that better. Defending on the inside against the Alpine, and this is the order. Then Marios looking on the inside, and it doesn't look like Divine Eye has too much grip, and there he goes around the Williams of Marios. Contact with the Mercedes of Divine Eye, and he goes around having to rejoin now behind Backmarker, who is in fact not a backmarker but is fighting for P8, and this will be very upsetting for the last standing Williams driver. It was such a tight battle between all of these drivers, and then all of a sudden it is over. The 2 Mercedes drivers also in a battle here. Looking to see if there is going to be team orders between the 2. Divine Eye still needing to pit Waza, having pit already, but with a tiny bit of a bigger penalty. Divine Eye now jumping into the pits. Unsure if this will give Waza the DRS. We'll have to see in just a bit, as he'll need it against Kittenpetter, and he does get the DRS. But Kittenpetter has the slipstream, which was so nicely brakes that the Alpine cannot get close enough to attack the driver ahead. In the meantime, the top 3 has not changed, but the steps gaining a tiny bit. We see B17 gaining the position on AP17, it looked like. Or that is my scoreboard being a bit weird and my eyes not seeing everything that they should. The steps now within a second of F1 Dino in 2nd position, really wanting that 2nd position back. For now, he already has it because of those 3-second time penalties, but we're only a third of the way there into the race. So that means that everything can still change. Marios now within 2/10 of Backmarker. Has been trailing this entire lap. Looking to see where he can get an opportunity to overtake. Maybe waiting for that DRS zone. Seeing if he can get anything going. In the meantime, AP17 joining the battle. Making this a small train of drivers that all want to take that 7th position. And here we can see backmarker pulling to the side, letting Murios past. And I believe that backmarker will now get the DRS as AP17 gets a really good exit there. Has to look for some opportunity. Backmarker really nicely done there. AP17 goes on the inside of Murios, braking very late. Murios not able to stick to the side of AP17 and losing out the position, but attempting to go back in the left-hander there and sticking the car ahead of the Aston Martin before the end of turn 3. Very nice strategic job there from the AlphaTauri, letting the Williams go past right before the DRS line, making sure that he has DRS to overtake back again, and using Murios as a backup to defend from the Aston Martin. Very nice games there being played. Murios now getting close once again. And AP17 right on it still. But I want to look quickly at the top 3. Qatar getting a big lead to the Red Bull F1 dyno. But the steps getting closer and closer. Now within a second has DRS. Has a tiny bit of slipstream, but doesn't have any of the battery. Also doesn't tuck into the slipstream of F1 dynos and is unable to do anything about it. Murios again getting past the AlphaTauri there. Jabiza getting a 3-second time penalty. And here we see the same strategy being unfolded again. Murios now diving towards the inside, going defensive very early there. As it looks like backmarker will have to go around the outside. Murios now going back into the middle of the track and gaining the position and keeping it this time. Backmarker trying to repeat the move he did last lap, but Murios learned. He's a fast learner. Once you do something to him, he will not let you do it once again. Taking the position and keeping it. Very nicely done. Jabiza is out of the session, retires in the pits. Jesper gets another 3-second time penalty. This is going to be one maths job at the end of the race to figure out who will be first and who will be third and who will be second, of course, as well. Podium steps, the most important of these races. They are single event races. That means there is no championship going on. No further results will be counted here. It looks like F1 dyno now has DRS from the back marker there, as the steps has the DRS and the slipstream there. Overtakes F1 dyno into the first turn, as it's very weird to see that Jabiza DNF'd in the pits, but his car is standing on the exit of the pit lane. The steps taking up second position there. If we look further back to Murios again, it seems like he's got the 1 second gap almost done to the AlphaTauri behind, meaning that the move from back marker that he did the first lap worked extremely well, but the second time ultimately failed. Standings are now somewhat solidifying as we're looking to the first organized pit, not one caused by a safety car, within just a few laps. If we look at these drivers, you see Kittenbetter has been on these mediums for 20 laps, which means that they will most likely be wearing out pretty quickly. Jesper getting another 3-second time penalty. He's currently in 14th place, has 6 seconds of time penalties in the pocket, which is not a positive thing for now. If you look at the big winners and the big losers, Arkit going down 9 places, starting 3rd, now all the way in 11th. The big winner here is Touchkey, of course, in 4th position, as AP17 gets 3-second time penalty as well. Touchkey starting last in 18th, now all the way up into 4th, which is an amazing drive. As we see that back marker goes into the pits, it looks like he's also got 19 laps old hards that will be pitting, but also grabbing up a 5-second penalty for that stop. Getting better now, chasing Divine Eye for that 5th position. As backmarker also retires in the pits. That is retiring number 4. Only 14 more drivers on the track currently. Getting better, chasing very closely here. Let's see if we can make an overtake happen before the DRS zone. Don't think it will be possible, as Divine Eye is also pretty good on the brakes, as we've seen so far. It's most likely going to be a repeat of any other move that we've seen. Most of the moves that we've seen so far. Stuchki picks up a 3-second time penalty, negating a little bit of work that he's done so far in this charge. Getting better, now behind Divine Eye. Getting the DRS. Getting a good exit here as well. Looks like he's used a bit more of the track. Means that he has a big room there, as Divine Eye has to stick now to that line, as he's gone defensive, went back, and now lost the position on the straight. Getting better, getting 5th position. As I also just noticed that that is not Divine Eye, but that is in fact Wazar. Both Mercedes drivers, I just mixed them up a little bit there. Getting better now. Looking to increase that gap, as Oranjeboom also DNFs now after taking another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. DNFing in the pits. So there are only 13 active drivers now on the track. Arkid now also picks up a 3-second time penalty in 10th position. And Wazan now outside of the second, not being able to take the DRS here on the straight. And losing even more ground. There are currently no drivers within a second of each other, so there's no DRS being picked up and no real chances of overtakes. Divine Eye now within a second of AP17. Closing that gap. AP17 making a mistake there, going wide. Which gives Divine Eye a chance on the inside here. And it looks like AP17 is there still side by side. Might get a better camera from the game. And Divine Eye is past, but goes very wide there. So we had a very unfortunate camera angle there. As we see them go now, as Divine Eye is past, but he might have picked up a warning there for track limits. Currently only 4 drivers on the track that do not have any form of penalties. It is Kaka in first, the steps in second, Kitten Better 5th, and Rios in 7th position. AP17 now picking up the DRS from that battle. Looking to stick with the Mercedes driver. And if we look at the tires of these two, it looks like AP17 has way worn tires. 7 laps older tires. Getting better, really extending this stint of his. Having 24 old mediums as he's had from the start. Really driving his own race here, hoping that that everyone around him will get penalties and he himself will be able to do an alternative strategy And maybe with this amount of tire wear, he might be able to go medium hard and then finish the race. Which would be a 1 stop, while the rest also still has to stop. Wazar picking up another 3-second time penalty as well, making it 9 seconds in total. Not much action going on currently, besides drivers like Arkid picking up some penalties. There's no real standings to discuss either. There's no real implications of anyone winning except for gaining the honor of winning the first Divine Eye Racing social race at Qatar. And the first 100% race that they've ran so far. Well, looks like Kaka is extending the lead up front. The steps slotting in second. Just a tiny bit of a pace difference there. F1 Dino Touchkey both having a 3-second time penalty, so those differences are being negated. Which means we're 3 seconds further behind. Which doesn't matter too much, as Get It Better is more than 11 seconds back. Has got quite a job to do, but with these old worn tires, he'll have to rely on pure strategy. The question is though, when will the tires drop off? Because it feels like the medium should be dropping off already after just over 20 laps. But the fact that he's done 26 laps on the same compound already makes me question it. Arkid now chasing AP17. It looks like he's getting a lot of time there, so it might be AP17 that has made a mistake. So Rios overtakes Wazar. Everyone overtaking Wazar as he's into the pits. Arkid ducking into the slipstream, getting the DRS on AP17. Getting past here on the straight completely before the braking zone and able to take the first turn properly as Kitten Better, and it takes 3 seconds time penalty. Same for Blue Dark, getting a 5-second penalty actually for speeding in the pit lane. Now there's only 3 drivers that have no penalties, that are free from any penalties. Divine Eye now within a second of Rios. Maybe able to do something after he's switched to tires that are 8 laps cleaner, 8 laps newer than Rios. He has the DRS. It looks like he's a lot quicker in the corners as well. That's where he's been gaining his time. Sticking it just within the lines. Rios breaking the toe, but when you have DRS, there's not really much you can do on such a long straight. Divine Eye cutting back into it. Rios not going defensive, giving Divine Eye the space and also the position. For a second there, it looked like Rios was looking to send it around the outside, but he ended up keeping it back. Wazar getting another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Rios now going on the inside, almost looking, and Wazar choosing to DNF after getting that final penalty, which means only 12 drivers remain after 6 of them have chosen to not finish the race. Or ended up in a barrier also happened. I think once. Now, these standing changes are going to get a little bit more interesting as well, as we see a lot of drivers having gained positions, and only a few losing out. The steps from pole to 2nd place. Rios from 6th to 7th. Arkid from 2nd place down to 8th. And all the other drivers now either equaling or gaining position. Kinnepetter into the pits after this long stint. He now deserves to change his medium tires for hards. And as I had already guessed, he's halfway through the race and now opting for a one-stop strategy. Going to end up behind Arkid, it looks like, but is still in front of AP17 as he's able to drop the throttle all the way down. Now getting ahead of AP17 quite comfortably. Now down in 8th position with clean tires, but all the other drivers around him still need to pit. So none of these drivers are running on the hards except for Kit and Better, and all these drivers not able to run to the end. A lot of them having 19 lap old tires. As F1 Dyno gets another 3-second time penalty, which puts Touchkey in the range of a podium position, as he's within 3 seconds because he's got 3 seconds less of a time penalty. This gives Touchkey a bit more hope. So Mariel's also entering the pits now. Same for AP17, going onto the softs and getting a new front wing. Maybe there's been some contact between these two. So it looks like the left side of Mariel's AP17's tire is a bit of marbles on them. Does not change the front wing, but does change onto new mediums. So AP17 can finish the race on this compound, but Mariel's will have to make the softs last very long to be able to finish the race on this compound. It's 27 laps. That's just a little bit shorter than what Kid and Petter made his medium tires run for. So it appears that Mariel's has to stop once more for a new set of probably softs around halfway through this stint. But we'll have to see what the strategy will be here. Maybe he did not have any other mediums or hards to switch to, as he's only done 2 stops, which means that he probably should have some other tires to run to. But I'm very curious to see what the strategy here will be and how it will play out. Touchkey now gaining a few tenths on F1 Dyno. It looks like Mariel's will grab the fastest lap time at the end of his next lap. Of course, this is his out lap, so he won't be able to gain anything here. Touchkey actually gaining quite some time, it looks like. Now within 2 seconds, which was 3 seconds just a few laps ago. Able to reel in F1 Dyno. For the F1 wheel drivers, the fatigue will probably start to set in right about now. This is about just past halfway of the race, where usually the races would be over. The league races are 50% races, so that would be it. As Gillenpetter sets the fastest lap with a 25.5 on the hard tires. Mariel's still needing to finish up the lap, but will probably overtake that. So the drivers usually doing a 50% race, which for this one would be a 20 28 or 29 lap race. And indeed, Muriel's here beating the fastest lap time by just a tenth with a 1 minute 25.4 and gaining that a little bit extra points. However, points don't matter in this event. The points will be scrapped as it is not a league race. And it doesn't matter how many points you acquire. It matters where you finish. And 1 point does not make a difference except for if you're 10th. Then you will gain a second point, which will put you equal to 9th. Divine now grabbing another 3-second time penalty, which puts him onto 9 seconds total. It looks like Kittenpetter now driving very quickly on these new hards. He's got to be careful not to push it too far, though. If he's pushing the tires too far in the early stages, he might get some graining or some blistering, which is not good for the tires. Arkid has a way bigger penalty than Kittenpetter has as well. Just like there's a 6-second difference in penalties between Divine Eye and Kittenpetter as well. Which means that he should be within 6 seconds of Divine Eye in order to take home 5th position. So Marios goes to a 125.1, gaining another 3/10 on the Alpine driver here. Kittenpetter now within the second of Arkid. Driver starting in 2nd place, now dropping back already onto 6th position, getting a lot of penalties as well. Will be probably be overtaken due to DRS within the next few laps. And as expected, Kittenpetter now passing Arkid on the straight using the DRS. Grabbing 6th position and now chasing 5th of Divine Eye. If we look further ahead, we see Tutschki, who has already gained a lot of time on F1 Dyno. Gaining even more. We see Jesper getting a 3-second time penalty. Now DNFing. And there's a safety car. So it looks like Jesper has thrown it into a wall. We can see his wheel there on the side dangling off. And all the time between these drivers, between Divine Eye and Tutschki, will be negated as they're all hurling into the pits. We see Kaká now just past the pits, which will be very frustrating as the steps gains all of this time for free. And he goes in the pits. And he might even keep 2nd position with that free stops. This race just got interesting. The steps going onto the hard tires while Kaká still has to pit. He's on 25 lap old mediums. He still has to stop. Whereas the steps now takes 2nd place with new clean hards. And most likely Kaká will be dropping into the pits right when the safety car... Alright, when the safety car crosses the pit entry, he'll be diving into it to gain that free, quote-unquote, free pit stop. So there's quite a bit of space still between the drivers, so he won't end up all the way back, but he might end up in 3rd position, or even 5th, if F1 Dyno and Tutschki get very close. Tutschki was so close to overtaking F1 Dyno on pure merit there, on pure race pace, but the safety car negating everything that's happening so far. And one of the big losers here, one of the big drivers that loses out on this safety car is Kaká as he's going off the track. So he's furious with what's happening. Just past the pit entry. Whereas the steps able to take that free stop and now slotting in behind. Clean tires. Whereas Kaká does not have that stop yet. Will Kaká go in? Yes, he will. This means that the Steps now has a free position here. He gained a few seconds on the safety car start because of the safety car bunching up, and then he also gains the position now, and it looks like F1 Dyna and Touchkey might also be past Kaká as he exits the pit there. Yeah, they are past now, so Kaká drops down to 4th position. He most likely will be keeping that. Divine Eye dropping right behind that. As we can see, a lot of drivers going into the pits, but not AP17, B17 and Blue Dark. They've stayed out, thinking they can finish the race on this compound. But this is going to be interesting. Everyone will be bunched up, clean tires, new tires. I've actually not checked what tires Kaká went to. He went on to the mediums. That's a very interesting choice here. They have 21 laps to go, which should be doable. The Steps should have also been able to go into the mediums, but he chose for the hards, which means that they have the same age tires from 1st to 8th, with the exception of Kaká, of course, as he's stopped 1 lap later. But the differences are almost negatable. The Steps has the hards, and the rest all the way up to 8th has mediums. This will make the battles to overtake the McLaren up front a bit easier at the safety car restart. But maybe the Steps has this master plan, this defense masterclass ready to teach the Red Bull and the Ferraris behind, and also the Mercedes, and also the Alpine, and the Alfa Romeo. This is going to be one crazy restart. Safety car chooses to go for another lap as the McLaren of Blue Dark and the Red Bull of B17 are still not caught up with the pack. Looks like Blue Dark is also a full lap behind the rest, which makes it a bit more difficult as well. Let's grab the penalty standings as well. If we look at it right now, Kaká is taking 2nd position. F1 Dyno dropping down 2 positions to 4th. Touchkey staying right where he is. That was what it's going to look like. And then further down we have Divine Eye dropping back 1 position. Looks like maybe 2 positions, as Marios only has a 3-second time penalty. Jumping up as well. Arkid dropping down 2 positions. It's going to be one crazy shuffle at the end, as the final drivers cross the line on the end of the race. But that is not the time yet. 20 laps remaining in this race. We're on lap 37 out of 57, so 20 more laps until the end of this race. Hopefully we'll get the safety car in this lap notification going up. So we can get going again with the restart. There we have it. Race control says safety car in this lap. That means that the Steps has to do everything he can to get the temperature into the tires it's the hard tires, which means that he has more difficulty getting that in. Meanwhile, F1 Dyno will be lurking, Tutski will be lurking, Kaká will be lurking as well. As the steps drops the throttle, goes all the way on the power, getting the ERS on. As we see everyone trying to follow in to the slipstream, the steps having a very good restart there. No complaints back there. Divine Eye now on Tutski, looking on the inside but not able to make the overtake happen and having to stick behind further down on the grid. Not really much action going on. Back up front, the standings have all stayed the same. We see Arkid spinning around, losing all the positions, going all the way into 10th position. Divine Eye looking to push on Kaká, the driver that has lost these positions due to the safety car, due to the timing of the safety car, I should say. Now getting pressured from the Mercedes behind, who is being pressured by the Alpine behind, who has created a small gap. So it looks like Kittenpetter has a tiny gap, tiny bit of breathing room while he's chasing this McLaren, of the Mercedes ahead. Both start with an M. It's very difficult. Oh, Kittenpetter getting a lot of aero wash there and almost losing the car, leaving Divine Eye with a bit of breathing room. The steps now putting in the fastest lap, being beaten immediately by Tutski, putting in a 24.5. Looked very close between these two, so almost identical lap times there. The dust has settled a bit. Divine Eye now chasing that 4th position of Kaká. Remember, this Mercedes has a 9-second time penalty, so he will be dropping back, and he's wanting to create as much space as possible between him and the driver behind in order to keep as many positions as he can. Meanwhile, currently in 3rd position, we have Tutski. Gone all the way from last onto 3rd position. Now within a second, within that small train, that has suddenly become a bigger train. As Kaká and Divine Eye, Kittenpetter all hovering around that 1 second mark. Same with Marios. Arkid now overtaking the Red Bull of B17. And we should see some DRS happening soon, which is going to make this top 3 fight a lot more interesting. Tutski using all of the track that he can. Now has the double slipstream, but no DRS yet. Looking. Getting the fastest lap there set for himself. Pushing on, same way F1 Dyno is pushing too. Arkid now gaining a position on AP17. On the straight there. These 3 drivers all fighting for these podium positions. But as it stands now, Kaká will take one of those. As a quick side note, we can see that the steps has a very different choice of tires compared to the rest. He's on the hard compound, which means that his grip will be less at the start, but might be able to hang on for a tiny bit longer as the race goes on. Only 17 laps remaining. And these are the current standings. In the lead, the steps without a single penalty. Almost running a flawless race. Now having to defend from 2 other great drivers. F1 Dyno starting really far up front, staying with the battle. And Tutski starting all the way last. Able to catch back up. Kaká now also entering the fight, grabbing the fastest lap there with a 24.2. Arkid now taking that with a 23.9. Arkid has to make these moves. He has to do it. He has a 12-second time penalty, which puts him Down to 9th for now, if my calculations are correct. Just barely. Which means that he needs that speed, he needs those times to be able to create a gap behind him and not lose too many positions. This train of 4 drivers now, the big interest of the race. They were so at the restart. They are even more so a few laps after the restart. Dutchke getting really close with F1 Dyno there. So you can see as they're racing past. Gaps are very, very close. And the bad part of this, 3 drivers behind the steps will have DRS. F1 Dyno getting a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, which is going to make it even more difficult to get anywhere on these podium positions. A devastating mistake there as we hop on board with Kaká here. We're going to go on board with Dutchke as he overtakes F1 Dyno. He didn't need to for that position, but he wanted to. He wanted to make a statement and maybe even overtake the steps for the lead on the next lap, getting that 3-second gap and winning the race, which would be the ultimate goal. Starting last, finishing first. But Dutchke is not the only contender that wants to take the win. We see Kaká down a few positions. Also without a penalty. Looking on the rear of that Ferrari. So wanting to take the lead. And get a shot at winning. Kitten Better also very close to Divine Eye now. Not close enough for an overtake yet. Divine Eye defending properly now. Kaká also not within range. Looking a tiny bit there on the inside, but knows that these fast corners are not the place to overtake. They have to wait and wait and wait. There's the DRS marker, which means that Kaká will have DRS, but so will F1 Dyno, and so will Dutchke. Oh, it's very difficult to keep track of all these drivers trying to overtake Dutchke. Looking on the inside, gaining the position. Kiddepetter also gaining the position a few cars further back. Kaká not able to, but Dutchke grabbing the lead there from the steps using DRS. Keeping it as well going through these corners. He's on the medium compound, which means he's got a tiny bit more grip in the corners compared to the steps, which is going to make these steps, these no pun intended, these corners a bit easier to grab a tiny lead that he can use on the straight. If we go look on board, we see that Dutchke does have some ERS available. The steps has a bit less. F1 Dyno has almost nothing. And Kaká has almost a full battery to be able to attack all these cars ahead. See a yellow flag in sector 2, which shows that B17 has retired from the race. And there is another safety car. So these drivers can finally breathe just as I can. And we'll have another restart for the last 14 laps of the race, which will most likely be 12 after the safety car has ended. If you're about to step away, or if you have any plans of stepping away, now would be the time to grab something to eat, something to drink. Because these final laps, this final bit of the race will be very interesting. Dutchke going into the pits. I have said nothing, it's already interesting. Dutchke going for the softs. Drivers behind also going into the pits. Divine Eye, Murios, Arkid, all opting for the soft tires here. Which puts Dutchke in 5th position, right behind Kiddepetter, who has the medium tires up front as well as the steps with the hards. Dutchke in prime position here to attack on the safety car restart. Very lucky that the drivers behind didn't also stop and did not continue driving on the same compound. That would have been disastrous. It would have been so many more places behind. So the trust and the thought that this man has behind the strategy today has been immaculate. Here on the right hand side we can see the drivers up front with the safety car. Tushki now closing that gap, as one does under a safety car, and absolutely smashing the strategy today. Starting last, as we look at the drivers' gain and loss, as I'm scrolling over it twice. Arkid from 2nd to 6th, still. Tushki from last to 5th, but with those softs, might be able to look at a win here. It's going to be very exciting. 4 stops compared to the 2 stops of the drivers ahead, but sticking with it. Looking at the penalties, he has 3 seconds. Same as getting better, 3 seconds. F1 Dyno has 9 seconds. So he's basically guaranteed to lose some positions. Kaka in the steps, no penalties yet. Anything can still happen. There are 13 laps left. I am at the edge of my seat. You should be too. 1 more lap of the safety car as Arkid and AP17 close in. And this will be one heck of a restart. 1 more lap to prepare yourself mentally for this battle. We can see Tushki here on the clean softs, looking for the attack. Kaka in 3rd, looking for the attack. Everyone will be on edge here. Chances will be taken. I expect to see contact, but I know these drivers can be very clean when they need to. So this is going to be a big guess to what happens next. For this, I'm allowed to break the 4th wall, go into the chat real quick. As a former commentator, I don't know how you're doing this by yourself. I am trying my best, that's all I can do. So, I take this as a compliment, so thank you very much. 12 laps remaining. Hopefully, the safety car will go in. I don't see any reason for it to go on. As there's contact in the back, AP17 hits Blue Dark, goes sideways, and Blue Dark gets a 5-second time penalty for collision. Unsure why or what happened there. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I was looking at the map. It happened. Stewards will look at it most likely. But Blue Dark gaining that 5-second there. He's already an entire lap behind. Unsure what's going to happen there. 18 starters, 10 drivers still standing. Absolute troopers for enduring this 100% race. We're going to see the message from race control in just a second that the safety car will be in this lap. So there it is. So now we can focus on the drivers that need to be focused on. I'll be putting the camera on the steps as he has the control. AP17 getting a 5-second penalty for collision with Arkid as well. Arkid now behind all of these drivers, needing to close the gap, the steps. An entirely filled battery on the edge of the track. Now dropping the throttle down, you're going for a good exit, going all the way in on the ERS. So we're looking down this line of drivers. AP17 going into the pit, possibly has some damage. We see Tushki side by side, taking the spot off Kid and Better into the first turn. This is exactly as I predicted. Divine Eye also on the attack with the softs, looking to get that position of the Alpine driver. These soft runners are now attacking full on power. These soft tires have so much more grip into the corners, as well as at the restart. You get so much more grip as you have the tires in the window a lot easier. Now you see Tushki right behind Kaka, looking for that overtake. Not close enough yet to do anything, but close enough to put some pressure down. Approaching the middle sector now. You see the grip of Tushki in the Ferrari, being able to go very wide, but still carrying all of that speed through. Following his teammate. He's got quite some task ahead of him. Currently, if we account for penalties, Tushki will be on the podium. But this is nothing guaranteed. He's so close to his teammate now. Grabs the DRS on the line. Maybe it looks like Kitten Petter does not have DRS, and he does not. In fact, no one has DRS, as it hasn't been activated yet. Touchkey gaining a position. Arkit also gaining a position. They're 3 wide into turn 1, and Touchkey gains both positions. While Kaká goes on the inside, takes a position back, but the left-hander next gives Touchkey the upper hand and gives him the second position. Now in prime position to take the battle to the steps, who is currently leading the race. Very clean racing between these drivers. F1 Dino tumbling back on the order. Looks like he's gone very wide there. Drops from 2nd place all the way to 8th, which is very, very unlucky. The top 3 drivers now separating themselves from the rest of the pack. There's been a second gained between Kaká and Divine Eye, who has now gone back into the second. So this train has reformed itself. Touchkey with the task to overtake the steps. And also gain 3 seconds after that. Breaks the DRS between him and his teammate behind. Almost at overtake length already with the steps. Easing on the accelerator there before the DRS line. Now using all of the battery that he's acquired on the straight. Doesn't even need the DRS as it just got enabled. Slams past the steps and now only has one job. Get the steps out of that 3-second room. Divine Eye overtaking Kaká for 3rd position. Very nice job there as well. Arkit right behind. He's dropped down a few positions on right before the start of the final restart. But let's jump back all the way to 5th to be able to join these drivers in the battle. Kaká still looking to get that position back. Touchy almost has a second. He now has a second between him and the steps, meaning that the McLaren will not get DRS if he can keep this gap going. Arkit now also looking for the overtake, which is not that easy to execute around these parts here. Touchkey's got quite the gap now, and now he just needs to contain it. 8 more laps after this one. 9 more laps. I am unable to count anymore. DRS is enabled. Divine Eye does not have DRS. The Steps does not have DRS. Kaká and Arkit both have DRS. You see Kaká going past Divine Eye. Arkit also looking up the inside. Sticking around it. Divine Eye defending. Has the inside here. Gets boxed in by Kaká. But keeps the position as Kaká only gains 1 and Divine only loses 1. Arkit looking on the inside there, but doesn't see enough space to go for it. And now has to stick behind. He also has way many penalties than Divine Eye. It's a 3-second difference between those two, but both of these have way more penalties than Kaká has in 3rd place. So that means that even if Kaká ends up behind these two, he'll still gain the position. If you're looking at the bigger loss of this restart, we see Kitten Petter here. And if you look at the tires, that makes sense. He was on the mediums and the soft runners absolutely obliterated him. It's only Kaká and the Steps with the medium and the hard respectively that are battling still. Divine Eye so close to Kaká, who has indeed that medium compound and needs to defend now. Touchkey has 2 seconds behind him. Almost enough to negate the penalties that he has. Touchkey now only needs to keep his tires on the grey stuff and not over, as Divine Eye steams past Kaká. Same as Arkit. Arkit also going past Divine Eye, getting 2 positions in one straight there. But he needs these positions. He needs to gain that time because of the amount of penalties. He doesn't want to lose any more positions than he has to. That means he needs a 3-second gap between him and Divine Eye behind. Divine Eye gains another 3-second time penalty, which negates everything I just said before. This is now a fair race, an equal race between Arcade and Divine Eye, as F1 Dino sets the fastest lap with a 122.9, all the way in 8th position. After having that horrendous restart there. Touchkey now, 7 laps remaining, needs half a second. He's been gaining so much time every single lap. As long as he can keep it within the lines, it looks like victory will be his. But he does need to make it perfect and not push too hard on these soft tires, as we know that soft tires can really lose their grip very quickly. Divine Eye now loses grip of Arcade, but Kaká sticks within the second. Arcade also within the second of the steps. The steps does not have a penalty yet, but neither does Kaká. It looks like this will be the podium scorers. If you look at the penalties, it will be Touchkey, the steps, and Kaká. But in what order? No one knows. None of these drivers able to overtake anyone just yet. Kittenpetter grabbing a loss on the restart. Struggling with tire grip, it looks like. Well, Muriels is going past. Look, I think Muriels is on the soft. Is he not? Yes, he is. Which gives him quite a bit of an advantage. Arcade very close now on the rear of the steps. Arcade has the soft tires. Steps has the hard compound. Looked like such a good strategy from him. But now it looks like it's all coming down to these final corners. And indeed, without that safety car, things would have turned out a lot different. We're not talking if, buts, and maybes. We do absolutes. Arcade now chasing the McLaren. Waiting for the DRS caution in Sector 3. That is Muriels who went around and is down to 7th place. Arcade grabbing DRS. As we see Divine Eye going sideways into the wall there, losing his front wing, but he's already past the pit entry, dropping down a few positions, and has to drive an entire lap without a front wing, as there's a virtual safety car for all the debris that has been thrown onto the track. Touchkey has a huge gap now behind him, as Arcade has been battling with the steps, taking that position. F1 Dino gets another 3-second time penalty, almost negating whatever's happening with the final 3-point scorers. But Touchkey will be very happy with this battle between Arcade and the steps, the gaps that they've been forming with each other. As F1 Dino now opts for a DNF. The virtual safety car is over. The steps losing the position to Kaká as well. Maybe not quick enough on the restart, as Muriels has a drive-through penalty just as Kittenpetter. But look at who also has a drive-through penalty. It is Touchkey up front. It was looking like the favorite. Needed to make no mistakes. And what did he do? One singular mistake. And now he has to serve a drive-through. That is worth so much time. As he gets another 3-second time penalty for going over the limits. Entering the pits now. Serving his drive-through. Meaning that there's room for Arcade to go past. There's room for Kaká to go past, as Touchkey decides to retire from the session, having had such a great race, and this one mistake messing up everything he's worked for so far. The steps and Kaká both without any penalties, cleanly battling the steps in second place. Divine Eye getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Just currently only 8 drivers driving Kaká and the steps. The only drivers without penalties for this entire race. Only 4 laps to go after this one. Remember, Arcade is driving up front, but has 12 seconds of time penalty. 12 seconds. This means that if the steps and Kaká keep driving like this, we're looking at the battle for the lead. Only half a second between these two. A few tenths separating. could be the win for the McLaren or the win for the Ferrari. Anything can still happen. Just like we saw with Tutski. One wrong move can set up everything that's going wrong. Flap open now for the Ferrari. Kaká going side by side and passing the steps on the straight, dropping his car in front. Remember, Kaká is on the medium tires. I'm going to pop it up real quickly. Is on the medium tires, which is about to drop off. Meanwhile, the steps on the hards, not dropping off too hard yet, but in general has lower grip levels. These final few laps are still nail-bitingly close. So we're essentially looking for the battle for the lead. But if they keep losing each other more time, Arcade is going to get away with it. Who's on the softs, 14 laps old, which should be dropping off as well fairly quickly. But if they lose each other too much time over the next few laps, they need to lose 7 seconds for Arcade to gain the victory. The step still keeping close with Kaká, using the slipstream to get close. Maybe the medium tires are already falling off, which is giving the steps a little bit of an advantage. Now in the DRS, in the slipstream, looking to overtake. Now important to note that these overtakes always happen after the finish line. As we see here, they cross the finish line, the steps going past the Ferrari. Which is a very, very important thing to note. Because if every lap now there's an overtake, so lap 55 we get an overtake just after the finish line, that means that Kaká will be ahead. If we do that again on lap 56, that means that Kaká will be behind again. But on 57 it is not possible to do the same thing, as Marios and Divine Eye are now battling on the straight. DRS for Divine Eye, going past. Marios now sticking into the slipstream, looking on the inside, but doesn't quite go for it. And putting his car in 6th position. So as I was saying, Kaká will be in 3rd position on the final lap if they do keep switching, which doesn't not give him enough space to overtake again on the final lap, giving the steps the victory. But if these drivers could see what Backmarker in the AlphaTauri did way back at the start of the race with some of these DRS games, we might see a surprise going on as well. Same for if Kaká does not overtake the steps on one of these laps. Now, going into lap 56, almost at the final lap. Still within half a second, but Kaká did not overtake. Important to note. Still within a second, but did not overtake the steps. If he did not have the speed, it might be that it's not going to happen and the steps has the victory in hand. But these drivers, after 56 laps, still within a single second. Marios gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. These drivers after 50 plus laps are within half a second, or within a second of each other. That means that their average lap time difference is 0.02 seconds. Less than 0.02 seconds at the moment that they cross the finish line. Which is insane. Yes, there have been neutralizations with the safety car, but even so, if we look at the stops that they've made, both driven 2 stops. And it looks like the steps is getting a DRS tow here. A little DRS help from his teammate, Blue Dark, the back marker there. Which gives Kaká only the slipstream to work with as they're entering their final lap of the race. And Kaká does not overtake. And I think that is because of the help of the slipstream and the DRS there. As he loses the rear a tiny bit, gets squarely on the exit and loses some time there. Usually we follow the leader of the race as he finishes the race, but because Arcade has 12-second time penalty, a 15-second time penalty, he will not be driving for the win. He'll be having his car stuck on the 3rd place of the podium, and the real fight for the win is between these two drivers, Kaká and the Steps, going through the final 2 sectors of this race. Who will come out on top and who will have to take 2nd place? For now, it looks like the Steps is ahead. There's no DRS zone, no big DRS zone before the final one, which also spans over the start-finish line, which usually does not give enough time to overtake. Kaká getting very close now, using every inch of the track that he can. Getting closer and closer, using everything, approaching the final corner, but it's not going to be enough. There's not enough of a braking zone there to gain a position. Now within 2/10, great exit there from Kaká, but it will be the Steps that takes the victory here. And it is not, it's Kaká that takes the victory. The difference is 12 thousandths of a second. The Steps taking victory in the end. I have no clue what I've been saying. The Steps takes the victory as Kaká puts it in 2nd place with only 12 thousandths of a second over 57 laps. That is so close. Now the penalties are being applied to the drivers that are finishing now, which puts Arcade in 3rd position, Kid and Pedder in 4th, Divine Eye for now in 5th, Real 6th, AP17 in 7th, and Blue Dark 8th position. A great showing from these drivers. 12,000, 0.012 seconds between P1 and P2. That is an amazing showing. Big congratulations to the Steps for winning this race, and for Kaká for sticking with it this entire time. Driver of the day has to be Touchkey, going from last, and now I think he has he's got 9th position on the leaderboard for himself. As we see the Steps with the Czech flag, not to be confused with the checkered flag. Kaká in 2nd place, Arcade in 3rd. A great race. Many battles, many safety cars as well. Many penalties, many penalties have been seen throughout this race. But in the end, there's only one that can win, and that is the Steps. As you can see here, the final standings. McLaren takes the win with the Steps. Kaká in 2nd place, Arcade in 3rd. Next to that, we have Kid and Pedder, Divine Eye, Mrios, AP17, Blue Dark, Touchkey, and F1 Dino taking the final points position. Only 8 drivers that finished the race. Touchkey still getting that points position. And F1 Dino actually taking the fastest lap point, which does not get shown here, as it shows he's only got 1 point. But he gets 1 point from 10th place, but also 1 for getting the fastest lap. So who knows what Cody's have been smoking. I for sure think that he deserves that 2nd point. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching this race. If you have enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe, like the stream, and share it with all your friends and family. And we'll see you again, hopefully soon, for another race. Goodbye.